This video will just cover what a debate is. It's going to be a bit of a shorter one just because I think this is a very simple definition of what a debate is, just to kind of distinguish it from the kinds of debates you see, say, in terms of a presidential election, the debates you see on YouTube where someone is going to destroy someone's like argument in 2 minutes. This isn't what competitive debating is oftentimes. So, debates for this context are a formal and competitive assessment of the validity of a motion statement. We'll go through the words in bold because I think this is what makes this competitive debating very different from the other kinds of debating you might see. So, the first is it's formal. I think there are many kinds of debates in different settings you can have. Like, you can argue with a friend, you can like talk about issues over dinner, etc. But the fact that it's formal entails that you have very strict rules and technicalities that you observe for debating in order to make it fair. So, for example, debaters will have strict time limits for speeches. Standard is often either 7 or 8 minutes. They'll have particular roles and expectations for such roles. So, we'll probably go into the formats at a later time. But for now, just know that not all the debaters have to do the same things, and there are rules and reasons for which that is the case. Third is that they're impersonal, meaning in many debates, people will represent their own views and opinions. Whereas in competitive debating, because it is assumed that all sides are fair, you will often not be able to pick the side that you want. So even if you personally don't believe in a kind of motion, you would still have to propose or oppose it depending on what side you are assigned to. Most of the time, this is entirely random. Lastly is that these rules and technicalities are summarized into general formats. The ones I personally have most experience with are British Parliamentary, Asian Parliamentary, the Australasian format, and the World Schools format. Again, we'll discuss this more at a later upload. It's a competitive activity. So one is that there are winners and losers, and there must be metrics for winning and losing. So you can't just vibe check or have a feel that someone won or lost. You have to have active reasons for which that is the case. And you can't have a tie. You can't see things the same way. Someone has to win and someone has to lose. Second is that there are systems for scoring, pairing, and qualifying further into a tournament. And so these are like actual quantitative ways in which you can assess whether or not people are doing well or poorly. There are numbers and scores for speeches, for example. Third is that there's a premium on fairness, meaning you are not trying, or rather the end goal of debating is to ensure that all sides have an equal probability of winning. And so the topic should be fair. You can't have one topic that is just so difficult to support. Otherwise, the proposing side of that topic might have difficulty in defending it. Second is that judges should have a fair probability of winning to all sides, and the system should reflect fairness and merit. So, in general, competitive, and therefore you want it to be fair. Last is that it's necessarily adversarial. So again, winners and losers, no ties. But I put this particular bullet point because in many debates, you will see that people kind of end up agreeing at the end. You say, well, I think you're right in some way and I'm right in some way, and this is the middle ground we can both come to collectively. That isn't the case with competitive debating. It is, I stand for something, you stand for something else. The thing I stand for is better than the thing you stand for. And I think what that entails is there has to be some level of disagreement between both sides. You cannot converge into one belief by the end of a debate. You have to stick to what the motion would call for you to defend or oppose. Lastly is there's a motion. So the last part of the definition was the validity of a motion statement. The motion is simply, what are you debating about? And oftentimes, it's a statement that declares a particular stance. It is non-neutral. You can't be okay with everything. So for example, in this house would ban guns. One side of the debate would have to say banning guns is the thing we should do. The other side would have to say we should not ban guns. Next is that, again, it's fair to assess. It's defensible on both sides. Lastly is that it's something that can be accompanied by information. Sorry, I should have edited that. Or definitions. Meaning, some motions might be a bit particular, might not have everyone knowing about the topic. So for example, in the motion, this House believes that the Philippines should align itself with the Quad. you might have it accompanied with a basic definition of what the Quad or the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue is. That's all. So that's what a debate is, and I share this video just because I feel like debates aren't the things that you would see on TV, on YouTube. Perhaps watching debates from tournaments could kind of fill you in on how these could potentially be different.